Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez. We just got done watching Mandalorian the whole season on Disney Plus. I was debating whether to commit to a weekly fee for Disney Plus, but you know we are Disney maniacs. And so far Mandalorian absolutely rules. It is wonderful. I am running a nozzle check on my Pro-1000. It ran a very short preliminary cleaning cycle, if that's what it even was. We're going to talk about some maintenance things that you need to really do on this printer every once in a while. And I'm going to show you something that even if you don't own any kind of calibration equipment, it will ensure that the output of this printer, it is fantastic. Nothing short of fantastic. It's going to go ahead and do a little purge cycle on the purge pad. That's what you heard. Basically what that means is it's going to suck out any kind of residual ink that builds up on that pad. The pad is where the print head will sit and park itself after it is done printing. Had I been running a multiple page job, it really wouldn't do much of that. It's because after this, I didn't have anything else scheduled, so it's going to perform that. It's really not wasting any ink. It's actually removing ink that may have deposited itself onto the purge pad. Now, we're going to wait until this thing stops. I'm going to tell it that it was a perfect nozzle check, which indeed it was. So we're going to click on A, which is okay, and boom, we are done. Nozzle is not clogged and does not require cleaning. And boom, now we're going to perform a head alignment, and I'm going to just go ahead and use my regular paper. I ran out of the 11.5 by 8 or letter size luster paper that I was running on earlier because I've used it all up. So we're going to go ahead and do an auto one. You have a choice between manual, and you need a loop to be able to read the results of that so you can make the right choice. We're going to let the printer do it because this printer is smart. Okay, we're going to choose auto, and we'll go ahead and do you want to start the auto head alignment? Yes, we do. And this is something we have to do every once in a while. Okay, so we have 3 sheets at least. It's what you need. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. And just kick back and enjoy the process. It's all done automatically. There is no guesswork, especially with my bad eyes. I cannot really tell where the perfect squares are. And you'll see what I'm talking about. There goes the papers being fed through the printer. Let me move this out of the way. It's going to go ahead and print those little squares. It's going to go ahead and read them. And it's going to make a decision automatically because this thing has built-in sensors. But then I'm going to show you what you really must do in order to get this printer to print as perfectly to factory specifications as possible. And simply doing that, especially if you're using Canon papers, you're going to be printing the most beautiful, most perfect output you have ever seen in your life. Okay? And it's a very simple process to do. In fact, automatic. So we'll go ahead and finish this, and we'll talk about what it is that you really must perform. I think you know what I'm talking about. What it is doing is printing little squares and is reading them at the same time. And it will do this for 3 sheets worth of little patches. You'll see what I'm talking about. Once this emerges, you'll see what the actual lines and patches that it prints look like. And then we'll just go ahead and speed this up at 3 or 4 times the speed, and then we'll go ahead and examine the most important thing you need to perform on this printer, or the Pro 2000 or 4000 or 6000 or any of the other sophisticated IPF 6400 series. They had that internal what? The densitometer. Here's the first one. It is aligning the head right now. That's what it says right there. But I think it's going to do something else because it asked me to make sure that I had 3 sheets of paper loaded. So we'll just go ahead and let it do its thing. Stay quiet and just watch. Oh, by the way, I did a bottom plate cleaning process. I also did the roller cleaning process. Again, you should do this every 2 or 3 months. Whether it needs it or not, it's good maintenance and it does help prevent any problems downstream. By the way, every time that it stops moving forward, it's going to go ahead and begin to read those printed squares in bars and bands and whatever it is that it is printing. And while we are waiting here patiently, let me reiterate what I talked about in that very long video that I did the other day. We are finding out some things that we simply did not know about this printer. And we've been kind of speculating quite a bit for the longest time ever. The Pro 10, Pro 100 are totally different animals. They do have the basic time cleaning cycles. They are not smart printers like this one is, and possibly even the Pro 1. So don't worry about those time cleaning cycles. This printer will clean itself when it needs to clean itself. And I also will show you a report or review that Red River made on this printer when it first came out. A lot of people ignored it. They really didn't read it. And I'm going to go ahead and do a video specifically about that. And I'm going to show you what to activate and what to deactivate to help reduce the amount of cleanings that the printer will perform. You want to save ink. You want to also print a lot on this printer because you want to increase the ratio of ink being used in the production of prints versus in the production of waste ink, which is what it generates when it is doing its auto maintenance. The more you print, the more auto maintenance will be required. If you do a very, very large job of, say, 200 or so prints within a couple of days, you haven't even hit or gotten close to that 60-hour cycle, it may stop midway and perform a cleaning cycle. It needs to clear that print head of that residue that it builds up during the printing process, which utilizes heat. So it needs to perform these cleaning cycles as it detects that there is some buildup building up and it needs to be removed. So don't be surprised if you're printing regularly for a week or a few days or so and you get a cleaning cycle before what you thought should have been 60 hours. Yeah, it did it because it needed to do it, period. I am refilling with OEM inks. A few of the inks are still Precisioncolors, but I'm using the major colors are from 700 milliliter cartridges that utilize the same ink as this printer. Those are the ones for the Pro 2000 and higher. So I'm not worried about ink. I'm not worried about ink waste at all. I'm worried about this thing being kept in perfectly working and operating conditions. Whatever it needs to do to assure me that printer will continue printing as designed, I am all for it. I'm not worried about the ink being used for the cleaning cycles because I will be producing more prints, using a lot more of my ink to produce prints. That's the whole idea. You cannot get this printer and just do nozzle checks with it. No, why are you getting this printer if that's all you're going to do? Once every month and a half or so, make a print. No, then you don't really need to get a printer of this caliber. Okay, send your work out if that is the frequency by which you're going to be printing. This printer should be used so that you utilize a lot of its ink. In other words, a much higher ratio, 5-to-1, 6-to-1, maybe 10-to-1, producing prints rather than flipping that ratio around. A lot of people are using 5 times more ink on waste cycles or cleaning cycles, maintenance cycles, than they are actually producing prints with. So that makes no sense whatsoever. Notice it is doing that right now. You see? And I've been printing on this for the last several days. So again, just let it do its thing. Let it do its thing. It's doing it because it needs to do it. And that is why they are so famous as basically remaining clog free for a long, long time, even if you mistreat them. They will remain clog free. And that is simply done by all of those automatic maintenance cycles that it has to produce. Here comes the last sheet, and we should be able to go ahead and declare this printer as aligned. Now, what does that do? Well, if you notice on your driver settings, you have standard, you have high, and highest. This has even higher quality than other Canon printers. Most of them only have normal and then high. So if you choose the normal quality, it will advance quite a bit because it's using a wider section of your nozzles to lay down a swath of ink, if you will, a band of ink. So it may not be overlapping as much. In fact, it's going to lay down ink, advance that equal amount, and lay down another row of ink and advance another equal amount. If that equal amount is not equal, in other words, if it's slightly less, then you're going to get overlapping of the two passes or three. If it's more, then you're going to get a gap because the paper is advancing more than it needs to. It has to be accurate to a nozzle, to a single nozzle. So in order for you to be able to print, say, standard quality, you need to have a perfectly aligned print head, or you're going to possibly get a little bit of banding, okay? The only way to reduce that without aligning the print head would be to use the highest quality. That way there's a lot more overlapping going on and possibly covering up that mild single row of nozzles overlap or gap. That is all we want to do. We want to be able to get this thing aligned so perfectly that we can print on standard and not get any banding whatsoever. Here we go. We are done. So the next thing you need to do. So what did we do? Wait a minute. Let's backtrack. We ran a nozzle check. Well, we did a roller cleaning. We did a lower plate cleaning of the printhead. We ran a nozzle plate. We ran a head alignment because you need a perfect nozzle check first before you can run that head alignment. And now I'm going to show you the most important thing you can do. So let's just say, for instance, and this will work with your Canon papers mostly, but it should also work with something like Red River or any other paper that has a similar surface quality or characteristic as the Canon papers for which there is a paper choice in the driver. So here's what we do. We look in the LCD. Let me backtrack here. You're going to go to your maintenance tab. You're going to have print nozzle check pattern, which is the normal one. After that is printhead cleaning. If you have to do a manual cleaning yourself, printhead alignment, roller cleaning, bottom plate cleaning. Continue going down until you reach color calibration. You're going to insert a sheet of whatever paper you're going to be printing on from now on. Okay, this assumes that you're going to be printing always on a particular type of paper. Otherwise, you'll have to do multiple calibrations when you change to another type. You're going to go ahead and run that. This is what it will produce. It will print a set of patches. The sensor is going to read them and create a correction, okay? Once that correction is created, I can print my evaluation image on that same paper, letting the driver control color, simply choosing, in this case it was Pro Luster, and you get this. Good Lord, this is perfect. This is the most perfect rendition I have ever seen. This is better than what I usually get with an ICC profile. All right, so we're going to examine this. Oh my gosh. Deep black, I see the next step up. Right here, I definitely see black, and then the next step up as well. All the way to white, 253. 254 is visible, okay? 255 is the paper base, no ink at all. I want to eat those. They look perfect. This is perfectly neutral. All of that is perfect. The kids' faces, perfect. I mean, come on. It just doesn't get better than that. Now, here's a critical thing. No banding in the transitions. This high saturated to black or high saturated to white transitions. There is no banding. There is no demarcation anywhere where it's actually trying to shift saturation or density, and then you have an abrupt band where it kind of jumps to the next tone. Not there at all. I did nothing. I'm printing with the driver only after I ran this. Now, if I switch to another paper, I run another one of these, okay? It'll cost me one sheet of paper. That is it. So it couldn't get simpler than that. So once a set of 3 months or so, run all of those operations that I walked you through, okay? You're gonna do your nozzle check. You're gonna do your head alignment. You're gonna do your roller cleaning, bottom plate cleaning, and then color calibration. That is it. Once you have that done and it is stored in your printer's memory, you will be able to print as long as your monitor is correctly calibrated. In other words, this output, when I view this image on my monitor, it matches, okay? So I calibrated my monitor to match this output. This output is about as perfect as you can possibly get out of your Pro 1000 because you have calibrated it to factory standard, okay? If I calibrate 5 of them, they will all be calibrated to the same factory standard using the same paper. So I print 5 copies of that image, put them side by side, they'll be identical as they can possibly be. Now, oh, Jose, big deal. So now, will that help me print my own images? Well, it should. Like I said, if your monitor matches that, whatever I edit out of my monitor and simply print it using the driver, color/intensity manual adjustment, ICM, and just pick whatever paper choice, Canon paper I am using on the drop-down menu, quality levels, paper size, and then send it to the printer. And you get this. Folks, this looks identical to what I saw on my monitor. I got a complete range of tones. I mean, let me take my glasses off. These areas here would be sometimes a little bit blown, and they have total amount of detail on it. It's not the sharpest image in the world. That was my fault with my camera. But anyway, I just want you guys to see the color rendition that I was able to get just with the driver. So if you're telling me that you're getting magenta prints or greenish prints, I don't know what you're doing wrong. I really don't know, okay? Because this is pretty much dummy proof. Run that color calibration. Run this image. That will certify the printer is outputting correctly. Once you have that, take that over to your computer, match it to your screen. In other words, make the screen match this. That way your screen is calibrated to this standard, okay? Now, when you edit your images, you're not making them too light, too dark, too yellow, too this, too blue, too pink, too magenta, whatever, because they are being displayed correctly. So the edits you do will be on purpose. In other words, it will not be trying to correct for something you see at fault with your images. Oh, they're a little bit too bright on my monitor. Let me darken them. And what you're doing is you're sending a dark print to the printer. When it comes out, it's going to look dark because the printer is printing perfectly. It's only printing, reproducing what you have sent from your computer to it. And that applies to contrast, color, and density. So anyway, that is it. I hope you enjoy this. The next video is going to walk you through that really, really fantastic review that Red River did on the Pro 1000. And I want to point out a couple of things that you'll never find in the instruction manual for this printer. All right, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like as always. Happy printing, everybody. Bye-bye.